This episode of Another Happy Pod is going to contain spoilers. If you've not experienced the content yourself, please go ahead and do so before coming back and listening to the boys ramble on about it. Thank you very much.
Nathan, the podcast.
Ah, shit. Hello and welcome back to Another Happy Pod, the show where we talk about movies and pop culture and TV shows and anything else going on in the world, even politics, get ready for that, and trying to keep things just a little bit more positive and optimistic. We won't actually be talking about politics, to be honest. I don't know why I said that. We don't always succeed, but we do have a good time doing it. My name is Nathan James Bauer III, and as always, I'm joined by Lawrence Thomas Hicey, a known...
Oh, no! I was like, wow, I'm so proud of him. He's on a roll. He's gonna do it. He's gonna bring it home. And then you said that, and then I was like, oh, of course, this is Nathan. I forgot who I host this with.
What was wrong with what I said? Was it incorrect?
Yes, not enormously incorrect.
I don't think it was. Show me evidence.
How could I have done that?
Exactly.
Anyway, I'm getting bleeped. This is getting bleeped anyway, so no one will know what I have to prove.
That's what you think.
Fuck's sake. Hello, Nathan. How are you? How was your week?
Hello, Lawrence. It's fine, I guess. I've not done much.
No.
Including
Including a podcast that we didn't do last week.
We missed last week. Well, yeah, we were supposed to do Knives Out, but we didn't because Lawrence. I mean, I can't remember, but it was your fault somehow.
Yeah, it probably was. I know it was my birthday on the day that we were supposed to record, but we had Beth staying around. Beth, who is a famous, was a reoccurring guest on the show. And she was round, and I just thought, you know what? She's just going to try and make it all about her. So let's move on. Let's not record this week, and we'll wait. Oh, which reminds me, and I won't expand on this, not even to you, Nathan. Hello, Muku.
Is Muku listening?
He does. But I said I'm not going to expand on it, Nathan.
Yeah.
Move on. It didn't happen.
It was a weird thing to just draw. I know who Muku is.
Yeah, I know, but right in my eyes, he would be listening to this, like maybe half asleep a little bit, and then suddenly I'm talking to him, and then he's like, "Whoa, what was that?" He rewinds it, and it's still there, and then then at that point he realizes it was part of the episode. My plan fell apart in my own head as I was thinking about it just then.
Okay, well,
or did it, Muku?
Stop doing this. Stop shouting out individual listeners. Okay,
no, I'm going to do it to everyone. Everyone now that listens to this show, message me, and I'll shout you out individually.
It really won't take that long. Okay, so what are we doing this week, Lawrence?
The book of The Mandalorian Season 3.
Fucking hell. My God, I literally have a note in my list of notes about that very funny joke and how funny it is and how it's not overplayed at all and hasn't been completely fucking run into the ground by everyone on the internet. But sure, do your little joke.
I did it ironically. It doesn't count if
I do it. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Nathan, sometimes it's hard to tell over the online recording space that my tone is that of one. I'm in on the joke, is what I'm saying. And I think you need to learn that.
All right, well done. Fucking, I can't wait for your stand-up tour. Okay. So, yes, great joke. We're doing The Mandalorian Season 3. Everyone laugh. What a great joke that is.
It's the book of Boba Fett, Nathan. That joke's been overdone on the internet, and it's a bit shameful to see you just kind of repeating it like a dead horse. So,
well done.
Thank you.
Well done. So it's my understanding that you hate everything about this show, and everyone who has ever been involved with it, and everyone who's ever been involved with Star Wars, and you despise Kathleen Kennedy, and want her career to end, and she's been fired several times, according to you. And
Nathan, she's been fired by me. This is a woke disaster.
Yes.
No, I'm not doing it. I'm not even committing to a joke about this, just because of how much I don't want it to be taken any form out of context. No, I don't hate this show. In fact, the back end of it, not even the back end, the back half, I really enjoy, and it's some of the best time I've had with Star Wars on the small screen. It's a weird one. It really is a weird one. But I would prefer to hear your overall stance, and then we can maybe have a little debate about where we differ in opinion.
Okay. Take a wild fucking swing.
Did you like it, Nathan? Did you like your little Star Wars show?
I don't need to stand for this. Okay.
Did you like it, Nathan? Did it have spaceships? Was there enough spaceships for you and enough sand planet?
There was like 2 spaceships.
Yeah, I know. There was. Well, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Okay.
2 main spaceships. 1 space train though that was quite heavily featured for a while.
I mean, it was in 1 episode.
Wasn't it? Pretty sure it was 2.
No, I don't think so.
It whizzes past in one of the episodes, and then they take it down in another one. I'm pretty sure.
No, it whizzes past in the same episode, and then they take it down later in the same episode.
Ah, fair enough. Well, anyway, so you enjoyed the show?
I did. Yeah, it was a good show. I think Boba Fett has never been a character that I've particularly cared for in any way. He's always been a bit of a nothing character on screen anyway. In the comics, he's had like more to do, and in Clone Wars as well, they gave him more of a character. But this is like the first time in live action that he's really had any kind of actual character and personality. So he's more interesting than just a fucking a guy who stands around in the background and falls to his death in a fucking vagina in the sand or whatever. So yeah, it's more interesting to see a more in-depth look at this bloke and see what he's actually about and stuff. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
I'm just picturing how funny it would be if they committed to a 7-episode show of Boba Fett, but still didn't expand on him, just as the original trilogy didn't. Like, all his scenes are just him standing in the background going, "Yes." Just like something in the plot happens, and he's like, "That's bad." and that's it.
Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold.
Yeah, which is the only thing he's known for saying.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong, because like I like this, and I was all for the idea of seeing Boba Fett expanded on. Some of the choices in this show for me, because the character of Boba Fett, I love what they're doing. I love that they're making him a more sympathetic person. He's a bounty hunter, learning that he doesn't need to work for these pieces of shit anymore. He can build something for himself, still using the skills he's learned. Like, he's not become a fantastic bloke overnight, but he goes by his own code, and you have to respect it. And I really like what they're doing there. I just think, like, the choice to never, like, right, it's difficult because it instinctively has to be compared to The Mandalorian, I think, to a degree. Yeah. Because you're seeing a guy...
the same story.
Well, it's part of the same story, but also, when you think about it, in terms of the starting off point, the characters are virtually identical. I know they're not, and they're far from it now. But Boba Fett in the original trilogy, not a Mandalorian, but a bounty hunter in Beskar armor, very mysterious, don't know much about him. That's exactly where we meet the Mandalorian.
This has never been confirmed, but I think the reason that we have the Mandalorian is because Jon Favreau wanted to do a Boba Fett show, but Disney and Kathleen were like, no, let's do something else. Let's keep Boba Fett for a little while, do something else, and he'd be like, okay, well, I'll do a show about a Mandalorian then, and he'll look exactly like Boba Fett, but he won't be Boba Fett.
The not Boba Fett.
Yeah. And he's going to be a bounty hunter as well. So
yeah. Oh, he wears basically he's got a new paint job. That's it.
Yeah.
But the starting off point is similar. My main thing with this show is that they've already made a show about a man exploring the galaxy, and then in his Beskar armor, learning to think beyond what he's been brought up doing, or what he's the only path he's known in life. So and a mysterious bounty hunter figure. So when they made this, and then it was kind of where the Mandalorian is jetting all over the galaxy, every episode's on another planet, or at least like a different type of environment or scenery, and there's always something new to do. Where this was so character focused and lasered in on telling one story, or technically two stories, I think it lost something for me in the sense of, one, I think the pacing was was terrible between the two stories. I would have loved to have seen a bigger balance between modern day and the the Tusken Raiders flashback segments, and just the simplicity of it. I think kind of kneecapped it because it's good stuff what they were doing. I just wish there was more of a story to tell, and they took less time on things that were not as entertaining.
Like what?
What anything else? Like this is what I'm not a writer of the show, obviously, but what I saw was slow and very like it was him going for meetings at to the mayor's place, and then he went there and he was like, oh well, I'm a bit shady obviously, and then he was like, well, you have to respect me now, I'm Boba Fett. Then he goes back to his palace, then he does the same thing the next episode, and then like someone else tries to assassinate him and he's like, well, I'm Boba Fett, they have to respect me. And it's like it was very samey for a long time.
Yeah. Okay, I can see that. I guess I see it more in the sense that it's a lesson that Boba needs to learn. He's got a lot of skills that he's learned over the years as a bounty hunter and whatever other work he's been doing. He's clearly skilled. He knows how to fucking handle himself with taking down like fucking bounties and whoever else he's been doing.
Yeah.
But this is a new world for him. This is him stepping into like a crime boss, Don Leon, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It's not something he's done. And he does make mistakes, like from the fucking, walking through the streets of Tatooine, he doesn't understand the basic principles of being a crime boss. They keep telling how they haven't seen his litter and how the usual crime boss is carried through and that type of thing. And he's like, that's dumb, I'm not going to do that. And then through like every, even in the first episode, he has like meetings with everyone and he's like, I thought you were supposed to bring me a tribute, I'm supposed to give you a tribute? How does that work? He doesn't understand the crime stuff. So I thought it was all part about him just making mistakes and then forming his own version of what this fucking Don Leon, whatever the fuck they call it, is.
Yeah,
really.
And I'm down for that. I like the arc of Boba Fett kind of coming in and making mistakes, but also like when he makes the mistakes, he doesn't necessarily change his behavior. He just goes, well, that's not me. This is the way I'm doing it. And I like that he makes Tatooine fall in line. I just think maybe less time could have been given to that when there was like the Tusken Raider storyline. I found it like it got to a point where I was finding the flashbacks way more interesting, and it would cut back to the modern day stuff, and I'd be like, no, I don't care about this right now. But
I think that was intentional, though. I think the way the series was set up is, in the first half, it was more focused on the the flashbacks and giving you the history. For the first 4 episodes, it's a lot of time is spent on flashbacks and showing you who Boba is and how he's changed from what we've seen, previously in the original trilogies and the comics and stuff, and showing how he got to this point in his life, what changed for him to be there. So I think it was definitely intentional.
I think so. And like I said, like I'm not going to discredit it because there's definitely I'd imagine this needs a good second rewatch where I'm going to notice a lot of things that maybe I missed because I was going into, maybe I went into like the 3rd episode or whatever going, oh, this is not for me, this show so far. So maybe I wasn't looking as hard, but there's certain things that like I just felt took too long to drive the point home. And then the last episode, or the last 3 episodes, were like arguably much better. But then like, where does it stand in sense of like he's got less than a minute of screen time in like 2 episodes of his show? And I understand they're telling a connective story that has to weave together, but like, imagine if we saw the whole thing paced a little bit better, where we saw some, like a Game of Thrones episode where it, there's like 5 different places per episode. And we see a slow burning of Grogu getting trained, and then we see the backstory of Boba Fett, and then we see the present day storyline of Boba Fett. Like, I just feel like told in a different way, it could have kept the ante up way more, and definitely avoided the criticism of like Mando season 3 kind of thing.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll agree with that. If it was done a different way, it definitely could have been, more impactful.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say this without sounding like a dick. It's weird because the thing about like fucking And this is just my opinion, but the thing about fucking like criticism of media, and I think I'm guilty of myself this in some instances. I think too much of it is focused on what could have been done rather than what was done.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of time focused on like why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Instead of just enjoying or just discussing what they did do. Sure, there's always going to be stuff that could have been done better because there's infinite number of people, not infinite, but there's a huge number of people who could have done something different. So there's always going to be an alternate, reality version of it or whatever. So instead of taking time to just focus on what you could have had, focus on what and this is not me saying this to you directly, this is just a general thing about criticism in general. It's a lot of it is focused on, and especially in Star Wars, there's so much of like, oh, they should have done this or they should have done that, that'd been cool, but I'm like, but they didn't. So get over it.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm definitely
focus on what they did do.
I'm definitely for that. And then like towards the later half of the season, that is where I found myself enjoying the show. Like, because there's certain moments of the Boba Fett stuff that I thought was sick. Like the Tusken, like even in my like least favorite couple of episodes, like Boba and the Tuskens taking down that steam train thing. That's amazing. That was so cool. And then like Boba being welcomed into them with their family and stuff clearly shows the impact of where he is and why he wants to, rule over people with respect and not fear, because it gets you further. And like all of those things I really liked. So for what it did do, I can appreciate it. But there is, unfortunately, like you say, there is always, unfortunately, a minority of people that are saying like, oh, just imagine if. And I try and put that in the back of my head, but this story could have been told in virtually it could have done the exact same plot points. Not a single thing could have been skipped. But if it was just cut together differently, I would have found myself way more engaged from episode 1 all the way through 7, rather than like episode 1 to 4 being like, and then 5, 6, and 7 being like, best Star Wars ever. Do you know what I mean?
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. And like I say, I'm guilty of it myself. I mean, I love Star Wars. I love the prequels even. I love Revenge of the Sith. But, sometimes I do catch myself thinking, the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin, it could have been so much more impactful if they had like actual emotional beats throughout it rather than, just mindless fighting. It could have had some really good stuff to it. But I still enjoy it though. Yeah. It's still stuff that I like. But yeah, anyway, let's move on from that. What did you think about the reveal of like him getting out of the Sarlacc, the fucking 40-year in the wait-in fucking reveal of it all?
I think it was understated and very simple, which is really good. Like, because I'm not being funny.
I like that it was just very matter of fact as well. Yeah. It was just like there wasn't any like big grandeur or build up to it. It was just like literally the show opens. All right, he's out. Move on. Let's go.
And the show even kind of addresses that as well, because like when he comes out, his hand like grasps out of the sand like a couple of meters away from it, so you could tell he was in there deep. And then but it is just a natural fact that he's talented at what he does and he's got great fucking armor. So that's how he escaped. And then like I think he used like a breathing tube from like the stormtrooper's helmet or something that had air in it or something along those lines. But I was just like, it's smart, you're using what you've got. And then later on, like he does come back. And for those people that wanted to see him jetpack out of the Sarlacc's mouth and drop a fucking like sonic cannon or whatever the fuck into it, those people did get what they want, but it was done for a practical and sensible reason. He went back like, I need to get my armor. And Fennec was like, okay, where's that? And he's like, the bottom of a Sarlacc pit. And she was like, I guess we're going to go bomb a Sarlacc pit then. Like, and then it's not there. So he's like, fuck's sake. But like, and so you still get that moment, but it's all done in a way that isn't, this is Boba Fett. And rather, this is a man in his 60s. Like, going, fucking hell, do I have to go and do this?
Yeah, that's something as well. The fact that, the two leads of this show is a 61-year-old man and a 58-year-old woman, and both of them are, like, fucking in top form fighting shape.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Fennec
really
especially,
impressive.
She is leaping rooftops and all sorts.
Ming-Na Wen is a fucking incredible actress, a really good stunt performer as well. She's done some really good stuff.
Is Boba, Boba's supposed to be in his like mid-40s, right? In canon.
Yeah, Tamara Morrison is a lot older than Boba Fett should be, but he looks good.
That's why they crisped him up in the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah. So Boba Fett should be around about. Let's see. So he's about 10 in Attack of the Clones, and this is about 30 years after that. So yeah, it should be about 4. No, actually, about 33. 40 is about 40. It should be like mid 40s, really.
Yeah.
At this point.
So that's but like at the end of the day, it's an iconic fact. The trouble is with this, Star Wars are going to come into something one day where they go, do we just keep casting a 60-year-old man who in 20 years is going to be like 80, or do we digitally de-age, or do we recast the clones as a man in his late 20s who we've got plenty of time with?
I mean, we'll talk about it later, but they can clearly digitally de-age. Like, that's not going to be an issue for them.
No, clearly it's not, especially in 20 years' time.
Yeah, they can figure it out, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Yeah, you mentioned like the fucking Tusken stuff. What did you think of all that and the in-depth look at like their culture and stuff?
So one thing I really love in Star Wars, and I am speaking to the point. I know it sounds like I'm off on a tangent. The one thing I love in Star Wars is when you're presented something, and it's so far from what you could think. Like, it's all about perspective. For example, like for a broad example, Vader is a maniacal dictator who murders everyone he meets that pisses him off slightly. But what he actually is a tragic backstoried, like terrified father who wants redemption more than anything in the world. And so this does it in 2 instances. The Tusken Raiders, we've been told, are savages by Obi-Wan in A New Hope. We've only ever seen them fucking raising their spears and screaming in like rage and anger. The only other time we've seen them be somewhat sympathetic creatures is when Anakin slaughtered them in Attack of the Clones. But then the moment's about Anakin. So what I really liked about this is it was like, these guys are just aliens that, because they're not inclined to the galaxy's civilized normalities, they must be beasts and terrifying creatures that need to be hunted and killed. But they're just...
I don't think it's that. It's more they're natives. Like, it's the same way like we have treated like native cultures in like America and Australia. It's just the indigenous population, and then once like fucking colonization happened and we got there, like, oh, these savage beasts, they're not fucking, they don't deserve this land or whatever. It's just that.
And there's definitely ever since Boba came back on the small screen, there's been an element of that in the character. Is it Tamara Morrison? How's his first name pronounced?
Tamara,
yeah. Well, the actor who plays him is obviously New Zealand in heritage, and
Maori.
Oh, is he? Okay. And he obviously, there's an element of that kind of culture that's been brought in from even in his theme. Like they used a lot of like hacker movements in the Mando season 2 when he was introduced. And
I really like the moment where you see them, like, where he's constructed his gaffy stick and then they do, like, that kind of, like, tribal dance around the fire. There's clearly, like, a lot of Maori hacker stuff in that as well, which was really good to see. I really enjoyed that.
Firstly, it's commendable for a large company to include some of that stuff, because this is Star Wars lore, and it's terrifying to play with that, because everyone has an opinion on Star Wars. And most of the time, they're very much largely vocal and made by cunts. Whereas now, like, it's being embraced. Culture is being embraced in a show that is about embracing a culture, and it makes sense, and it works well.
It does, and that is exactly why I was very disappointed when it was killed off screen, because it was like we were so close to just having like something really good and different. We were so close to having like a really good representation of different cultures in Star Wars, and not just the same kind of stuff we've seen before. But then it's killed off screen for like an outsider's pain, Really, there's a lot of like white savior vibes to it, and Tamara Morrison is not white, but it's still got a lot of like white savior themes to it.
Yeah.
Like the outsider coming to the tribe, helping them fix a problem that they had initially, but they could solve it with him, and then they die off screen, so he feels pain. It's all, I don't know. It's disappointing, and I feel like
I can see. I actually hadn't considered it from that angle, to be fair, but that makes a lot of sense. Like, it's
Yeah.
good that it's there, but yeah, ultimately, it kind of, I suppose, does feel a little bit like they were cannon fodder for his emotional arc.
Exactly, yeah. There was some really good steps taken with it. It's just they kind of fumbled the landing a little bit. They missed the mark with what, I don't know, and I'm not the right person to speak on this, but like different kinds of indigenous and native representation and stuff. And I know that a lot of like native people were talking on Twitter about how much that stung, particularly because they finally had like this really good fucking like on-screen representation, and then it was just snatched away off screen. So yeah, little disappointing.
It is. I mean, it's crazy when you consider it as Tuskens, but it's like Tusken
Yeah.
Raiders from the original movie Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I see what you mean, because there was a lot of care woven into the construction of how their culture works and how they'd operate, like in a family setting. Because like they had the little kid running around. It wasn't like it wasn't a tribe of grown men. It was like this.
It was all of them.
It was
women,
it was not
the
just
children
it's not
too.
just the men, but the women and the children.
I like how we both went.
Yeah, you started talking and I was like, no, don't. I need to gear around to this. I've got a joke. But yeah, no, I can see why people would be upset about it. I never considered that. But that's
You wouldn't win, man.
you're white. You're a white man. No, but like again, like I don't know. I suppose we keep getting closer, but one day it's going to be nailed. Hopefully,
Yeah.
It's hard when
It
it's
steps in the right
corporate-
direction.
Well, when it
Yeah.
can be a corporate machine, it's hard. But clearly, creatives that understand it and want to bring elements of their own culture towards the show are putting in the right steps. But if it is Disney kneecapping them, then that sucks. And maybe someone kind of should have brought that forward and said, "Hey, it comes across like this." But yeah,
Huts are back.
Yeah.
We got two Huts. We got the twins. They're said to be Jabba's cousins. So possibly Zero the Hutt's children. But he died during the Clone Wars, so we don't know.
I saw a. This is far less intellectual Star Wars. This is just more of a dumb note. I saw a hilarious thumbnail on YouTube that was just the Hutts are big fat slugs. Why are they so powerful? But it is 100% true. Like, you think someone would just walk over and chop their little bamboo fucking platform down and be like, "Now you're on the floor and you can't move."
That's nothing new, though. There's a lot of like storytelling about, like fucking powerful crime lords who are just essentially like big fat immobilized. But look at Kingpin. Like,
But he
shouldn't
Kingpin
be.
can still throw down.
Yeah, but his main power isn't like his fucking strength. It's the levels of corruption he's able to influence and stuff.
Yeah, true.
That's where it comes from. That's where the power comes from, not necessarily physical strength.
Way back when in Star Wars, when the Hutts were rising to power, so they should have gone, "Hey, go and blackmail this person," and one brave person should have just gone, "No," because what are you going to do about it, you big fat slug?
They'd pay someone to kill you. That's what they do.
But then the person they paid to kill him should have all formed an alliance against the Hutts. And then
But that won't happen because they're all getting paid.
nah, because if all of them match the price, just drive the Hutts out of town.
No. Well, why didn't they do that to Kingpin?
They should have done it to everyone. Nathan, we've cured corruption.
Okay. So you're a fake fan and you don't know who Black Kassantan is.
I know that he is a big, large Wookiee who is a big bounty hunter. And I also saw that someone tried to tell someone on Twitter how his name was pronounced, at which point the writer came back and said, "Yeah, no, don't tell me how to pronounce a character that I created."
Yeah.
Which was very great. But no, who is he?
Yeah.
He's a big Wookiee.
So he's a Wookiee. He worked with Boba Fett for a time. Darth Vader hired them both to find out who blew up the Death Star. And that leads them to Luke. Obi-Wan gave him the scar across his eye It's pretty interesting. And he spent a lot of time fighting as a gladiator. So
Oh yeah, we were
there you go.
kind of told that, weren't we? Because he's just
Yeah.
he's just a big brawling unit.
He is a big fucking unit, and that's why he hates Trandoshans so much. Trandoshans have a big history with Wookiees. They've hunted them like for fucking decades and that sort of stuff. And I think they're the reason why he ended up in the gladiator ring. So yeah, that's why he fucking. As soon as he sees a Trandoshan, he's gonna fuck him up.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, more power to you, King.
Yeah.
And he likes giving
What do you think of him?
He's good. Yeah, I liked him. It's rare that like because obviously the only Wookiee most people know and love is Chewbacca. I spaced on one of the the holiday special names. I was going to make a joke, but then I just went
Lumpy.
Lumpy. That was it. Is that his son?
Marla, yeah.
Lumpy the son. Yeah.
Lumpy is his son. Marla's his wife. Itchy is his dad.
Itchy.
I hate that. I know that.
It's fucking terrible. But yeah, so we only know Chewbacca, who is, for all intents and purposes, yeah, he's a bit of a hulking unit himself. But
We also know Tarful.
I don't know Tarful.
You don't know Tarful?
Who's Tarful?
He's a guy from Revenge of the Sith who's with Yoda.
Oh, forgive me. He's in one scene, right?
He's not in one scene. He's in several scenes.
Is that two scenes then?
Right. He's a big part of it. Everyone knows Tarful.
I didn't know Tarful, I'll be honest. And I know Revenge of the Sith.
He's in Fallen Order as well.
Okay. Listen, I believe you. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying that the Wookiee that most people would be most commonly commonly known is Chewbacca, who's a unit himself, but also we know him mostly for being a loyal companion, a nice friend, and a savior. Whereas this guy's got was it Black Chrysanthemum? Is that his name?
Black Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. He's obviously got
Chrysanthemum.
So he's obviously got a chip on his shoulder, and I like that. It's world building stuff, which is like shit's happened to this person outside of the events of his show. He's not just clean cut angry Wookiee. He's traumatized from stuff.
Yeah, and I like that you don't necessarily need to know that to see him and enjoy him here. He's got a lot of history in the comics and stuff, but to someone like you who's just first been introduced to him here, you don't need to know that. Well, I assume so anyway. You can still enjoy him from this alone.
I could tell from the moment we met him, this guy's got some unresolved issues. But if they don't relate to the overall story that's being told, why bog me down with them? Like, I don't need to know.
It would have been very weird if at one point Boba Fett was just like, Black Chrysanthemum, how are you? I haven't seen you since we both worked with Darth Vader together. How you been doing since Obi-Wan Kenobi gave you that scar across your eye in issue 24 of Marvel Comics Star Wars?
Or he just turns around. Looks directly into camera and just goes for about 2 minutes while subtitles tell us everything we need to know. Which I think would have been the better narrative choice. What do you think as a whole about like Boba Fett's desire to come back and be the crime boss? Because like Tatooine is a place that I would argue we've seen far too much of, and one of my bigger complaints of the earliest part of the season is that I'd love to see Boba Fett do other things. That being said, I can still enjoy a plot where he wants to basically dethrone people on Tatooine and run it himself. What do you think about that?
Why do you think we've seen far too much of Tatooine?
Cause I think it's just up until this show, and the ending of this show I quite enjoy, but it kind of ran its course. Like in A New Hope, it's like just described endlessly as like the cesspool of the galaxy. Like it's where you go to fucking die, basically.
If there's a bright point of the galaxy, you're at the point which is furthest from.
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the things that we're told about it. But then we just keep going there. We keep there's elements of loads of Star Wars that is just Tatooine focused, and I just think the reason why, and again, it's why the episode that randomly was like just solo Mando in this show, I was like, fuck yes, because we're seeing him land on some like random crazy looking ring in the middle of the galaxy. where there's like a different sort of texture to things, like different structures, different architecture, and I was like, I'm immediately more engaged and interested in this because it's not just more of the same. And that's not to say that setting stuff on Tatooine is bad. When it does have a story and a reason, like this revealed itself to have, I think it's cool. But Tatooine for Tatooine's sake, he could have gone to rule anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, kind of, but I mean, Mos Espa was set up like. First of all, they changed the location of Jabba's palace. It was absolutely in Mos Eisley before, but whatever. But it was kind of set up like there was like a power vacuum in Tatooine, though. Jabba has gone. You know, Bib Fortuna, he snaked in there and took its place, and clearly was doing a pretty shit job. And Boba, you know, Boba's got beef with Bib, like fucking. So he's like, I'm gonna finish this off, and while I'm here, I might as well just set up shop and take this place for my own. They could have done something else, but what would have been the point of that? There would have been no real connection to Boba for it.
Well, then I guess I don't want to focus too much on what could have happened, rather than, because obviously, like we said at the beginning, it's a pointless criticism. But like, yeah. I just feel like there could have been something cooler to do with Boba than just to put him in charge of a thing and struggle to run it. Like, I don't know, it just felt very simple for a character that so many people have wanted to see for a very long time. And like, I don't know, because on part and parcel, I understand it because of the fact that Boba has a connection to Tatooine, and has been like kind of not bullied around there his entire life, but like he's done a lot of work there. He's taken up a lot of jobs. He worked protection for Jabba there, and it's a case of like that would probably be the first place he thinks to go to.
Do you not think it also thematically makes sense, though? Because that's the place where he quote-unquote died in the Sarlacc pit, and then he was quote-unquote reborn. He had like a second chance at redemption. He started his new life with his tribe. And then do you not think it like thematically makes sense for it to be on Tatooine, where he like started this new chapter of his life?
Yeah, I do, but then I also think it would make perfect sense for it to be anywhere else as well, like because he would want a fresh start, I guess. But do you see, like that point could be argued either way. It's just one is what we got and one is what we didn't. But again, like that this is my personal criticism. I don't think that the show suffered for it. It was more a case of like it would have been cool to see. One of my favorite things about Star Wars is when they go to other places and explore cool new worlds, and I just felt like I had a lessened interest that it was just on Tatooine. But that is a me criticism. That's not a detriment to the show.
Boy, you are not gonna have fun come May when Kenobi rolls around.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. Kenobi. I guess you'd argue the opposite. That like Kenobi, I think thematically has to be set there because of the fact that we know where Obi-Wan is and we know what he does, and we know the Skywalker connection to Tatooine as well. Which is obviously heavily going to be tied into this. So I feel like just give us a Boba Fett doing anything else, anywhere else.
Jumping ahead slightly, I do like that Luke was like, fuck no, I'm not going back to Tatooine. Fucking R2, just fucking take this kid back. I'm not fucking going there.
I did wonder if Luke was going to be like, it was going to be pulling up. When I saw the X-Wing, I was like, has Luke come back? And then it was R2. It's just like, hi, I'm here. He's like the delivery robot, you know, that delivers your food and then rolls away. That's what he felt like. Set the coordinates for Tatooine. Am I fuck returning?
So one thing I didn't realize when I was watching the show until the fourth episode was how much I fucking missed Din Djarin and how much I loved that character. Because as soon as I heard that little musical sting, that little ooh at the end of the episode, I was fucking on edge.
Yeah.
I was so excited to see everyone's favorite space dad again. I was so excited. And then, no surprise, the 2 episodes that followed ended up being my favorite of the fucking run because it was so good.
Yeah. Which, like, obviously, many people, and I'm in an unusual box with this because many people like it is baffling that the best 2 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett have no Boba Fett in them. Like, where does that leave you as a casual enjoyer of his show? And does it speak to the quality of the rest of the show? But also, in a less cuntier way, I'm just really happy that some cool Star Wars is happening, and I'm here to watch it.
I mean, yeah, sure, it might say something about Boba Fett. I think what it says more, though, is that more than anything about Boba Fett, I think it says more about Din than anything about Boba Fett. I think it speaks to how much people have connected and really come to love this character that, Pedro and the team have created and brought to life and stuff. Because I don't necessarily think that Pedro was actually fucking in the suit this time. I feel like he was probably busy filming something else, just not on set. But even so, he still does a fucking great performance, and it's still fucking jumping ahead in episodes. But the scene where he's on what is possibly Agent Class, we're not 100% sure, and he sees fucking Grogu and Luke on the hill, and you're looking at a helmet. You're looking at a fucking helmet, but he's still somehow able to get so much fucking emotion out of just a look. And it's ridiculous how they can somehow do that. Oh, yeah. But they can.
And that's a testament. That's even less of a testament to like Pedro himself or the performer in the suit, because we all know, let's be honest, they're not paying him to show up every day where he's not needed. And
I think they are. They are. There's if you watch the gallery, behind the scenes Mando season 2 especially, there is a lot of footage of Pedro in the suit for episodes where you don't see his face at all. It's just like the body armor. No, he is on set.
He'll definitely be there, to an extent, but obviously, little things where he's appearing in one episode of a show, or obviously 3, but at that point, appearing in one episode of a show versus filming an entire season when you're a busy actor is obviously a completely different thing.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't necessarily think it was him here, but I don't think that matters. He's still putting in the performance anyway. Though. Yeah. He's still doing great voice work, and they have a team. There's 3 people who play Mando. There's I don't know the other dude's name, forgive me, but the 3 of them do a great job all together to bring the character to life.
Yeah, and that's everything from the setting of where it is, the costume, because I don't know what it is about that helmet, but it does evoke a reaction. There's something about the iconic design of and I still think that's why people got obsessed with Boba Fett, despite him being a nothing character. There is just something. It does evoke something iconic in the fandom that makes people sympathize with the character.
See, I'd kind of disagree. I see what you're saying. The Mandalorian design of a helmet is very cool. It's easy to see why people can latch onto a cool design. But I think with Din, though, it's different. It's not just cool design. There's a lot to that character specifically that people have latched onto. His personality, he's very different from Boba Fett. Boba Fett from previously has just been, doesn't really do much, silent killer, whatever. And that's kind of how Mando is introduced. That's how we see Din at first. But then as the story goes on, you get to know him more. You learn his backstory and how he, grows as a person. And the character by the end of where we see him now, there's so much to him than just cool looking character.
Yeah, for sure. But that's because obviously we have 2 seasons of TV context behind it, and we know. Yeah. And obviously, I think a large part of that was pairing him with Grogu from day one, because we sympathize, 100%. Even if we, it's not something I can personally sympathize with, but I know how a dad would feel protecting a son, and it does evoke that. And despite the fact that we get to know him. He doesn't take his mask off until the last episode of season 1 for the first time. So we get to know his entire built connection with Grogu as a man behind a mask. So we get to notice and pick up more on little mannerisms and stuff.
And this is just talking about the Mandalorian at this point, but also the fact that in season 1 he takes his mask off out of necessity. He takes his mask off to so IG-11 can save him. In season 2 he takes his mask off out of choice. He does it so he can save Grogu, and then again just so he can simply look at his son. And it's the character development of that character is great, but also the character development in the Mandalorian, because he does kind of recede a bit. In Book of Boba Fett from where we last saw him, he has kind of gone back to his old ways, sort of thing. Now that Grogu's gone,
which I loved, because it at first glance, and it's Bryce Dallas Howard that directed that solo Mando episode, and she's give her a film, she's phenomenal. Like,
give her a series.
Yeah, even that. Yeah, she's so good at understanding the character. She knows that introducing Mando as picking up some bounty jobs, and going back and finding his people, his Mandalorian cult people. We know that we're going to be like, this is the Mandalorian, so he does that. He does bounties and he does stuff, and it takes us a minute to connect and go, oh, he's completely lost. It takes us a minute to go, because that's what we know the character was introduced as. So when we're reintroduced to him after a while, we go, this is what he does. And then we go, hang on, no, he stopped doing that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think he's gone back to bounty hunting. It seems like he was just doing that one job for information, so he can find out where, the new Mando sect was, the Children of the Watch. Maybe he has been doing other jobs, but from what we see, it seems like that was just for information. But still, the way he did that job, that was very different from how Din was at the end of season 2. I feel like Din wouldn't have just fucking brutally killed the entire room of people. Like, he would have brought him in alive, but this one, it was like, no, fuck this, I'm just going to kill all of you.
Yeah.
And he did. And he sliced that guy in half.
He says the line, the exact same line he says in the pilot, where I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold. And it's... Yeah. And don't get me wrong, it's a cool line, but it's also, like, merciless and really like a fat departure on where we've last seen him from.
And that's interesting. It's all character development is great, and it is always interesting to see characters grow. But it's also really interesting when you see them devolve as well, when you see them regress into like what they were before, because they've lost their way, they've lost something. And Din, he's lost Grogu. He's sad that he's lost his little green boy.
Yeah. What do you? Let's jump into the big CGI elephant in the room. What do you make of the return of someone that I think is maybe your favourite Star Wars character ever, right?
Luke?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. Oh. No, I'd like, don't get me wrong, I fucking love Luke, but I don't necessarily think he's my favourite character ever.
I thought his a thing in The Last Jedi pushed you over and made him your favourite, but I might be wrong.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it can change like all the time, and I do love pretty much everything he does in The Last Jedi. But no, I'd still probably think either Ben or Anakin is my favourite, but I don't know. I go back and forth, to be honest with you.
Fair enough.
But yes. So the CGI Luke in the end of Mando season 2, we see Luke Skywalker. We see Mark Hamill. It's a little wonky. It's a little like you can definitely tell it's CGI. It's a kind of rough, deep fake job. Seeing Luke here. First of all, a great surprise. Like, I had no indication that would happen at all, but fucking lovely surprise.
Yeah.
And second of all, my God, if you would have told me they somehow built a fucking time machine, went back and grabbed Mark Hamill out of the 80s, I would have believed you. Because I cannot see it at all.
Yeah.
I cannot see a fucking hint. The only thing that gives it away is the voice, really. Other than that, it's the actual physical look of it. I cannot physically see any flaws in it.
And I'm obviously, as Luke Skywalker is prone to doing at this point, he is less famous for saving the galaxy and more famous for starting Twitter discourse that containing much toxicity. No, I loved it. So like when it comes, I think this is cool technology. The fact that they have the power to do this is very cool. It's also terrifying in terms of like an outside of Star Wars landscape. But but at the minute, like people are like I'm seeing tweets like, if you enjoyed the newest book of Boba Fett, then just think about how this technology could impact the human race. I'm like, they're not committing political agenda. What they're doing is bringing back Luke fucking Skywalker, a gay space wizard, in a show about a bounty hunting spaceman. They're not. This is not a problem.
I get what people are saying, because yes, it is terrifying technology, and it does have the potential to be used for ill, and that's why I think you do need to set up some kind of regulation around this sort of stuff,
Yeah,
where you
for
have
sure.
to have explicit permission from those involved and stuff. And I think you already do anyway. I don't think you can just fucking use anyone's likeness and then just fucking do whatever you want. I think you'd legally have to have them involved or have something set up anyway.
Yeah.
One thing I thought of the other day, because I have seen a lot of people talking about this and saying it's a little bit wrong or this type of stuff, and then I thought about Battlefront 2, the video game Battlefront 2.
Yeah.
And then I thought Luke shows up in that. Leia shows up in that. Han Solo shows up in that. They all look like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, but none of them were involved with that game. How is it different, apart from it looking better?
Yeah. And that's it. And it's a case of the only element I disagree with that is they cast a voice actor as Luke Skywalker in this, giving someone else an opportunity to tell a new Luke story. The only difference between this is they used an AI which is more of a replica. I think the AI voice was a mistake, personally.
I do too. I think the voice is the only like I said, it's the only thing that gives it away. It's a little rough at points, a little bit wooden.
Yeah. It's very. You have a choice to make, Grogu, the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
and it's very wooden and stilted. Because that's exactly what it is. It's AI, which is what I think the mistake was, because Mark Hamill is a professional voice actor and probably could have done that just fine.
You see, I've seen this point, and I've actually got something queued up for you. Because I've also seen this. I've also seen people saying, "Why didn't they just get Mark Hamill to do it?" And I'm going to show you why right now.
Oh no! Oh no!
So this is Star Wars: Forces of Destiny, which is like a little animated kind of a show. It's just like animated shorts that show up, and it's just like set like small events that happen in Star Wars. And there's one of them which is basically Yoda and Luke training on Dagobah, and Mark Hamill came back to voice Luke. So this is during the events of Empire Strikes Back, but it was released a few years ago. Let me just play it for you.
Oh no!
Master Yoda, I think I got it.
Oh.
No.
Wait.
Concentrate, you must. I was concentrating. For a moment, I could see a path through the trees. And then? And then I didn't want you to miss it. Miss it?
Oh.
21-year-old Luke Skywalker?
Right. So this is the problem with that. It's the vocal performance is fine, but it's the cadence of a man that is obviously older.
Yes, and the same thing happened in Rogue One, okay? James Earl Jones is a terrific actor, terrific voice actor. He's got an amazing voice. He's amazing as Darth Vader, and rightly so, he came back as Vader for Rogue One, which he should. But it's very, very noticeable that his voice is different from how it is in A New Hope, because he's 30, 40 years older or whatever, so obviously his voice is going to be different. It's something they've not quite figured out yet. I think they will in time, but for now it's still a little bit rocky.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
But I'll tell you what, I'll take that over Sebastian Stan any day. Shut up with Sebastian Stan.
Sebastian, we've made this point before, but Sebastian Stan does not look like Mark Hamill. Fucking move on.
Stop it with that.
Yeah.
My God. If there's two fucking fan castings I hate, it's John Krasinski and fucking Sebastian Stan.
Yeah.
Get both of them out of here. I never want to see either of that happen.
And I'm in the ballpark of, I'm always up for a fresh interpretation, a recast over a CGI like remake kind of thing, or like a de-age. But for example, I think when it works. So, for example, we have no context of what Han Solo's face looked like 10 years before A New Hope. So just recast another actor who they did, and I think did a phenomenal job.
I'm not against the recast. I just think if you're doing it placed purely on looks, then you're going to have issues.
Yeah.
First of all, they don't even look that similar. But second of all, the physical performance isn't the most important thing. It's the actual personality of the character that needs to come across.
Yeah.
Because you can get someone who looks fucking identical to a fucking 1980s Mark Hamill or whatever. That wouldn't be that hard to find. You can do that. But the question is, can they act like him? Can they do the same job? That's what is most important. Alden Ehrenreich, he doesn't really look that similar to Harrison Ford, a young Harrison Ford, okay, but his performance as fucking young Han was so spot on. He got the fucking mannerisms, the cadence, pretty much everything about him so spot on without doing what seems like an impression.
Yeah.
He really found the fucking balance of it, and that's what's important.
The thing I'd even say with that is his voice was there. It didn't sound like young Harrison Ford, but he has this great moment at the beginning, which I've even said on this podcast, where like he has this moment where she's like, "Oh, Han, are you okay?" And he's like, "Oh, this is fine. You should see the other guy." And it's the cadence of the way he delivers that line. It's just like, that's Han Solo straight away. But also it doesn't bother me when you de-age someone or CGI fucking robot them in somehow, because we know what Luke's face looks like at this point in time.
Yeah.
So like just and I've seen the argument of like, oh, we can understand that game Luke doesn't look like Mark Hamill spot on. It's like, yeah, because no one looks like anyone in a fucking movie game. They all look like, everyone looks like shit most of the time.
Yeah.
But we know that, and that's fine. Whereas if we have a movie, let's say we go from Luke in the original trilogy to fucking Luke in the end of Mandalorian, and then like a couple of months later we've got Sebastian Stan with a deep fake Luke cover over his face, or just Sebastian Stan in a blonde wig, and then we go back to The Last Jedi. It's gonna unknowingly
jarring.
It's gonna fucking piss people off, and
I think that's why Alden works as well, because it's not in between Harrison, it's before, so you don't have that like weird step in the middle,
exactly,
where he's got a different face for some reason.
You just get told, like, this is him when he's fucking, I don't know, 30, late 20s, 30. This is him when he's 40.
Yeah,
and Bob's your uncle.
Exactly. Yeah, fucking Ewan McGregor grew into fucking Alec Guinness in like fucking 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So
the thing that
they can figure out.
The thing that bothers me about the fucking toxic discussion around this is the people that are fucking moaning about it now, and the power of this technology, and the, you know, something I keep seeing is like they're just calling him like Robot Luke, or like the fact that his eyes are CGI. There's no life in them. Firstly, he looks fucking normal when you know it.
He looks amazing.
Right, and all of them, to be fair, are crediting the visual effects artists, because they've done God's fucking work on that. Like, if they're not significantly raising their prices, then something is wrong with them. But the thing that pisses me off is the same people that are moaning about this technology being dangerous, blah, 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 blah. The people that have a problem with it now are the people that, when it appeared at the end of Mando Season 2, they went, oh, it's jarring, it doesn't look like Luke, you can tell that it's CGI. So they invested, they did a better job, and now they're like, this technology is too good, it's scaring me. And it's like, dude, choose a fucking lane. It's Star Wars. It's fine. Like, it's not a problem. This is not gonna, CGI Mark Hamill isn't gonna blow up the world.
And outside of it being, just a fucking great looking representation of Mark Hamill and that sort of thing, what I like about it is this is exactly what Lucasfilm does. Okay, George has always been passionate about pushing technology in film, and for better or worse, the prequels are shot that way, on green screens and blue screens. Not just because, not because George was lazy, but because he was really passionate about pushing new trends in cinema and seeing what can we do, and what can we do differently, and how can we create these digital environments. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the look of the prequels and the CGI-ness of it all and whatever, but without that, we wouldn't have the technology that we do today for the Mandalorian shit, the volume set and all that sort of stuff. We have to have the prequels to get to this point. So that's the kind of stuff that Lucasfilm do. They're always pushing the envelope with this kind of technology, and I think George would love that.
I think so. I think, like, obviously I can't speak to what he'd enjoy and stuff, but like back in the day, technological achievements were seen as a marvel. You could argue the entire success of Star Wars as a franchise is down to the fact that it had never been done before. Yeah, there'd been space odysseys and stuff before. But I'm saying the level of the model preparation and the use of the puppets and all to kind of bring it together with live action stuff. It was a way of pioneering the industry. And this is all this is doing. The difference is that technology has moved forward 50 some fucking years. And it's better. Like it's honestly, it does bother me. It's just I think people will focus on this. This show is not entirely for me, right? It's not entirely my cup of tea, but it has pushed the envelope so far forward in terms of where the bar is now. And
what did you think of Luke the character rather than Luke the performance?
I've seen a lot of criticism of where it goes, much that I disagree with. What I think this is doing that I think is really cool is firstly acknowledging the sequels, because we know that Star Wars ran scared for a while.
Yeah, which they was always doing. The Mandalorian has been leading up and hinting at the sequels since season 1.
Exactly, and I love that this is kind of this pushes it forward in another way. We're seeing what I think, and as a bigger Star Wars fan, you can tell me if I'm wrong or right, is the makings of the same place we saw burnt down in the Last Jedi.
Yeah, definitely. It's the same planet. I think the location of the actual temple itself might be different, but it's definitely the same planet.
Those building Star Wars robots, like they just finish up their temple, and Luke's like, maybe to the left a bit, and they're like, "Are you taking the piss? Are you taking the piss?"
I think it's Agent Kloss. The planet where Luke's temple was never named. It hasn't been named yet, but it's hinted that it's Agent Kloss, which is the planet we see in Rise of Skywalker. Where the Resistance are hiding out, that kind of jungle planet.
Yeah.
So it seems to be that same planet because that's where he trained Leia as well for a time.
Okay.
So yeah, it seems to be that's where it is, but we're not 100% sure yet.
Yeah. But no, I like the main thing I like in this is that Luke. So in Luke's mind, far, he knows that the Jedi failed, and that he is to start a new Jedi Order. Right? These are his goals and ambitions at the moment. Luke hasn't seen the prequels.
Yeah.
Luke doesn't know why the Jedi failed, and he doesn't know the reason that the Jedi failed is because they're a bunch of self-indulgent twats.
Yeah.
Right, which is exactly what they were. They were pencil-pushing morons rather than people that, could find a balance. They took the Force and they went, this is ours and we have laws and rules. And if you don't strictly abide by them, then you're an evil Sith. You're an evil, horrible, nasty Jedi Force user thing. Right? What I like about this is that Luke is clearly laying the groundwork for making the exact same mistakes so that he can learn his lesson in The Last Jedi.
What I like about it is he is doing that. He is taking missteps, but also he's very young. He's like fucking. I don't think he's even 30 at this point. Okay,
yeah.
He's now like a fucking Jedi Master, and he's supposed to raise the next generation and be the ultimate leader of the Jedi. Of course, he's gonna mess up. He's still fucking a kid, really. At the end of the day, he doesn't know anything. He has to fucking learn whatever he can about the Jedi through talking to some weird ghosts who seem to show up only every now and then whatever fucking books he can find.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult for him. He's going to make missteps, okay? But also, what I really like, and this speaks to his involvement in this show and in the ongoing story of the Mandalorian, is, and it's very clear in this that he is the complete opposite to the Armorer, in that two essential fucking cult leaders, let's say, two people with their own ideologies and their creeds and their beliefs and stuff. But one of them is very strict and is very rigorous, and it's like there's only one way to do things, and if you don't do things this one way, then fuck off, you're out, okay?
Yeah.
We'll have absolutely nothing to do to you. This is the way? Sure, it's a very cool phrase, it sounds cool. Think about it for more than 2 seconds and you'll realize just how fucked up it is.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. But Luke, being the complete opposite of the armorer, he doesn't necessarily believe that things need to go one particular way. He gives Grogu a choice. He lets him choose his own path rather than saying, this is how you need to do things. He gives him the choice between the lightsaber, which I mean you kind of shouldn't have because it was destroyed in the comic, but whatever. But also he gives him a choice between the lightsaber and the fucking armor, and he lets Grogu choose his own destiny, which I also think is key to the Jedi fucking religion. It's about letting people make their own choices and choosing their own life. That's a big part of the Force, and he really leaned into that there. So it's good stuff. He's taking good steps, but he's also taking a little bit of missteps because he's still learning.
Do you reckon when Grogu made the choice to go back to the Mandalorian, that it was a case of Luke was like, "Oh man, like I'm not gonna. I'm building this fucking sweet temple. I bagged my first student, and you'll never guess, my first student looked like my old master. This was sick. This was gonna be so good." And he fucking wants to go back to his stupid Tin Man, idiot. Like
he did, and then he rang up his sister and said, "Bring me that fucking kid of yours now."
Yeah, exactly. I got plans for that fucking little bitch. No, overall, I think we've been going a while. I'd say, I don't know, what is there anything that stood out to you in this show? I think we've spoken about mainly a lot of it.
Yeah, quick notes. Ahsoka, great, always good to see her. N1 Starfighter, fucking amazing. Flying through Beggar's Canyon, fucking amazing.
Oh, good stuff. A lot of Phantom Menace love in this.
A lot of Phantom Menace love, which I always enjoy seeing. The fact that the fucking debris from Anakin hitting the ramp in the pod racing sequence is still there, fucking like 40, 50 years later. Iconic, amazing, never changed Tatooine.
No.
A BD unit, incredible stuff, great, fucking lovely to see. Cobb Vanth, Space Dilf, I love you. I hope. Well, he's not dead, which is great. So he's alive.
Is he like?
Well, yeah, he's alive.
Like definitively.
Did you not see the post-credit scene?
Oh, motherfucker! Was there?
Yeah. Do you know when Boba said the Bacta tank is in use?
Oh, motherfuckers! Of course.
Yeah. So there's a post-credit scene. He is in the Bacta tank back at Jabba's palace, and the modder who fixed up Fennec Shan, he was there as well, like clearly getting ready to do some work. So. It looks like he's going to be modded up slightly.
Cobb, I don't know, with a robot Cobb. I don't know, a joke about robot Cobb.
Yeah. Anyway, what a fucking fool you are.
Yeah. Damn it, what a twat.
Yeah. Cad Bane, amazing.
Very
you
cool.
don't know who he is because you're a fake fan. Danny Trejo as the Rancor Keeper. Amazing.
Why not?
Completely ridiculous just seeing Danny Trejo in Star Wars. I think it's, for some reason, I find it ridiculous when Danny Trejo shows up in anything. Yeah. But I love it. I always love seeing Danny Trejo.
He's got one of them faces that just seems like it just doesn't belong in a fictional world.
He does. Like, whenever I see him, I'm like, oh, that's Danny Trejo. Yeah. What are you doing here? He's great. He's great. I always, whenever I see him, I always think about him saying "Dicks out for Harambe."
Oh, he did that, didn't he? Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that. Fucking hell.
Oh.
Dicks out for Harambe, you know what the fuck it is. Hey, dicks out for Harambe. Dicks out for Harambe, you know.
Very
good stuff, Danny Trejo. Yeah. So that was great. Order 66 from Grogu's perspective.
Very cool. Yeah, it's rare that we get a glimpse into, like, obviously we know where he would have come from, but like it's, there's mysteries to be unfolded there. Who was protecting him? Who was his master? Like there's all sorts. There's really cool stuff I think they can dive into.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. Anything? Oh, Rancor. I really enjoyed the interaction between Grogu and the Rancor. I did have a lot of stuff written on this, but just briefly, it's just, again, it's Luke's lesson shining through. His time with Luke wasn't completely wasted. He did help him unlock a lot of stuff from his training, and I think that's clear when you see him interacting with the Rancor and showing compassion rather than just trying to kill him like everyone else was in Mos Espa for some reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, love that stuff.
Isn't there something in the Mando season 1, Grogu kind of what there's one of the fucking absolute beasts that's trying to attack Mando, and it's the first time we see Grogu really use the Force.
Yeah,
Does he
Mudhorn
kill that? Yeah, does he kill that?
No, so the Mudhorn is charging towards Din when he's trying to get the egg for the Jawas, and the Mudhorn is charging towards him, and Din's pretty much seems to have just accepted his fate. He seems like he's just ready to die at that point because he's tired or whatever. But then Grogu. The first time you see him, he uses the Force. He just stops it and lifts it up, so Din can get in the killing blow.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
That's cool.
So he's good. He knows how to use the Force. He's a good little Force boy.
He is.
Grogu in his little starfighter pod is just. As soon as you saw that empty astromech slot, I think everyone knew that. Oh, that's Grogu's car seat. That's where he's gonna sit. Yeah.
And I love at the end where he's tapping on the glass, and you know full well that Mando is just gonna get halfway down the fucking galaxy or whatever, and it's just gonna be endless tap 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 tap. Hey, you're not looking, Dad. You're not looking at me. Tap 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 tap. Dad, look at this. Which is great.
And also their reunion was very heartwarming. Not what you expected, being in the middle of an action sequence, but still very heartwarming. I love the fact that he just jumps into his arms straight away. He even seems like he's trying to remove his helmet at one point as well.
Yeah, I love that. I thought he was going to take it off, but he's still.
Yeah.
Stupid Din is still being a Mando, even if Mando doesn't want him.
I think he's gonna. I think he might steer away from that as we go on.
Yeah.
But I hope so anyway. But yeah. So all around good stuff. Oh, one last thing. Ahsoka meeting Luke. Well, not meeting Luke, but being with Luke blew my fucking mind. That's something we've wanted for years, and I hope to God that in the Ahsoka series we get a scene of them talking about Anakin or something like that, because that would just be great. But pure fan service.
You came close to it, didn't it? When she was like, "You're so much like your father" or something.
That was a great moment. I absolutely love it. Just give me more.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
what do you want to see? Do you reckon there's a season 2? Do you reckon you'll want to see a season 2?
I don't think so. Not particularly of the Book of Boba Fett. I think this is just a chapter in the Mandalorian story. It
feels like a one and done, right?
Yeah, it does. I don't necessarily. It seems like everything was kind of wrapped up. I don't think it needs to have a season 2. I wouldn't be against it if it does, but I don't necessarily think it's something that's needed. I think we can definitely see these characters again. They can show up in The Mandalorian, in Ahsoka. Whatever happens, we can see them at some point down the line. But yeah, I feel
it's important to note that I think this was. Remember when Mando season 2 ended? He just handed off Grogu to Luke, and we kind of saw that as the end of their story. A lot of people were thinking this is the end. This is the end of, and then they teased the Book of Boba Fett coming soon, and everyone was thinking, is this the Mandalorian season 3? Are they just telling a story about a different guy in Beskar armor now? And a lot of people thought that. So it's a case of it is a better way to view this as part of Din's larger story. I think
that's what it is. I mean, Kathleen Kennedy herself said it when the show was announced at that Disney Investors Day or whatever. She specifically said the next chapter in the story of the Mandalorian. So it is part of the same ongoing story, which is why I don't like those jokes about the fucking. The Boba Fett, the Mandalorian season 3, Book of Boba Fett, whatever. Because first of all, they're boring and they're not funny, and they've been running to the ground so much. But also, it's the same story. Just get over it.
Yeah, it's true.
I think the biggest issue is the name. I think the biggest issue is the fact that it's called the Book of Boba Fett. If it was called fucking Star Wars Underworld or the Rise of Mos Espa or something like that, I think people wouldn't be nearly as worked up as they are about it.
It's just because in some episodes it clearly says on the tin it's a Boba Fett show, clearly, and then it's Boba Fett's not in it, so they're like, this isn't Boba Fett.
I did enjoy the fact that episode 5, The Return of the Mandalorian, when the credits showed up, the first thing it said was Tamara Morrison. I was like, well, that's not true, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that just didn't happen though, did it? But yeah, no, good show ultimately. I think it wasn't necessarily entirely as for me as Mando season 1 and 2 were, but it's necessary. If I was watching Mando season 1 and 2, I'd have to rewatch this, and I don't have a personal problem with doing so.
Are you ever going to watch Clone Wars?
It's hard to say. It's just such a time sink. That's not my only thing.
I mean, you say this, but what show are you currently watching?
That's different, Nathan. I'm watching that with Zucchini.
All right, but it's 20 minutes. It's 20 minutes an episode.
I considered going through the Disney Plus has got a nice list of like the crucial ones you need to watch.
Yeah,
and I was considering going through that, but then I thought it's a bit seems weird to go through that. I miss a lot of.
It just upsets me because you're missing out on so much good stuff. There's so much great Boba Fett stories there. There's some amazing Cad Bane stories, and you see, just how fucking cool that character is. Even in the Bad Batch, Fennec Shand and Cad Bane have a standoff together. They have a great fight in that show. So there's just a lot of stuff that you're missing out on, which I think you would enjoy.
I know.
But if you'd rather watch Gossip Girl, then that's absolutely fine.
It's
you want to watch the Vampire Diaries? Then
no, we couldn't finish that. It got very bad. But no,
I could have told you that.
I'm gonna say this now for anyone that thinks about mugging me off. Gossip Girl's a good show, and I fully back it. It's fun. But yeah,
there you go. Look forward to the Gossip Girl episode next week.
No, definitely not. But speaking of next week, Nathan,
yes,
we're going to be doing a little bit of this. Wowee, it's Peacemaker.
Stop doing that!
Whoa-ho-wee, John Cena returns as Peacemaker in his own peacemaking show about making peace. If you like this episode, then you can right here and get started.
Don't you fucking dare! Don't you fucking dare!
Oh, if you like this, new episodes go live Friday at 10 a.m. except when they don't, but they try to. We do. They're more often than not there. So yeah, sorry about that. That we're also on. Fucking, I can't talk. We're also on.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. We're also on Twitter and Instagram at Another Happy Pod, which is where you'll get a nice little post notification reminding you that we've got a new episode out. If you like the new episodes, you can give them a little 5-star review. Anything less is frankly despicable. So we will take only 5-star reviews. Thank you. And yeah, have a good week.
Great stuff as always.
Thank you.
Bye.